Hey, so I said, welcome. So, like, what is this? Like the third episode of the fourth season, the fifth season of Boyd in Trouble? Maybe
something like that.
Of the fourth season. We lost our way, but you know what? I almost lost my life, so I'm glad to be here. It's your host, John X. And your man, Grant Lancaster.
What up, though?
What up, though?
Good to see you, baby boy.
Good to be seen.
Yes, sir.
Good to be seen, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in shock. You know, if anyone didn't catch the my last episode with me just ranting by myself, saying "Thank God I'm alive," which is really what I should have called the episode. Thank God I'm alive. Your boy ended up in the hospital a couple of weeks ago. As a matter of fact, it's almost exactly 1 month. It's 1 month and 2 days since I got taken away with a high blood pressure and was almost out of here. So here I am back 1 month later, talking more shit.
Yes, sir. Can't stop, won't stop. Get it.
Can't stop, won't stop. Some of that, I guess that kind of rubbed off. Some of that rubbed off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about the show. I was thinking about a lot of different things. You know, of course, when anyone who's had a near close to death experience, I don't know if anyone has come back and been exactly the same with the same priorities and the same types of goals. You're a firefighter. I know a couple of times you might have come close where something might have possibly fell on you.
Yeah, so I've been in a couple situations. The worst thing that ever happened to me was falling through a floor. But I've seen people fall off of roofs. I've seen people. One of my boys had a bathtub porch fall on people. Like it's all kinds of crazy shit happens. So I haven't had the like near death, quote unquote, but I've been close enough to situations that I understand the value of life. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And that's important, you know, as we get up and we go about our business every day. Because there's so many different things that we take for granted while we're here. You know, for me personally, like I was saying to you, I was telling you like pre-show, even as I was getting carted out, I didn't feel as if it was a life-threatening situation. To me, all of the gravitas and all of that comes in afterwards when you're actually speaking to the medical professionals and the doctors, and they're telling you that, yo, you know, your condition was grave.
Mm-hmm.
Could have actually been out had X gone wrong or Y gone wrong. And
right.
You know, you can't, it's like how you deal with that is it's just to me, but to me it's like I never really thought it was going to be the end. I guess it's like, you know, and the doctors are looking at right now, they're still trying to figure out how the fuck I was the way that I was.
Right.
At time. So
I think when you in that kind of experience, I think that there's kind of a surreal kind of reality that takes place. Like you know what's going on, but you don't realize how dire the situation is. Like when people say the world slows down, you know what I mean, or you know whatever happens, you know, I think that's what that is, when the world just slows down and everything it doesn't seem like it's moving as fast. So to you it's just, you know, kind of what it is. But to somebody on the outside looking in, like if you've ever seen people in the hospital go to work on somebody, you know, they escort the loved ones out the room because it can look real hectic when people when hospital workers are going to work on the body.
Right.
You know, it can look really hectic.
Right. And I'm sure you had a lot of experience of seeing stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, just Just doing CPR on somebody is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily I didn't have to go through that experience, but it was interesting. I'll just put it.
Hmm.
It was interesting. It was different. You know, you really get to learn. You really get to see who actually gives a fuck too. That's one thing that's really
Right.
cool. Um,
Right.
and you know, for me, you know, kind of like made some of my bad decisions look better. I'll put it like that.
Right.
You know, and really bad. It really depends on the metric of the individual that you're talking about.
Hmm.
Because today, bad, quote unquote, is not going after the bag, quote unquote. And a lot of times that's what the decisions come down to, either chase the bag or, you know, have healthy relationships.
Hmm.
So, and these are the choices that people make. You know, I was thinking about the show. I was thinking about how we started with the show, what I wanted to do when I first started this show. And really, it was like a lot of it was really on an artistic tip.
Hmm.
And that's really what it is. And I think a lot of times during the weeks and, you know, just with the monotony of doing the show every week, you get away from that artistic piece of actually making something that sounds good and makes sense. And another part of it was for us to share our experiences. And that was really the most important thing because, like, you know, you're a brother of depth. People know you, people around New York, and, you know, from around the scene, they know you from maybe things you did in the music business, maybe things that you did that were different, but you have a whole story,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, but we all do though. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess it's a little different for you and I because you and I have like, I mean, and, you know, Rob, Gene, like all of us.
Our stories all intermingled.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and we know each other like on a like intimate level. You know what I mean? Like we've seen each other up, down, you know, in the middle, sideways, whatever. So I have a deeper understanding of who you are. You know what I mean? So to where somebody may just see your level of assholery and just think that you an asshole, just period. You know what I mean? I see it and I know
Mm.
of what you know what I mean. Like I know the essence of that.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? I know Mr. and Mrs. X. You know
right,
what I mean? Like yeah. So I get it.
right.
And
And
other people just see it on the surface.
right, because I mean, what it always comes down to is the same thing: is that I can't be you and you can't be me.
Right.
And everyone out there in the street, we can't be who we are, who we would like to be. A lot of it comes in. That's basically the makeup of the world and how we are. One of the things that I learned, or I was thinking about a lot as I was lying on that gurney in that bed, was how people really don't value the right things. They don't. There's no value in those things that we think have value,
Hmm.
and how we are so lost in chasing these things with no value, and we chase them in groups, which is the weirdest part. Like, you know, seeing these elections and all this stuff go on, you know, like this Donald Trump stuff is like crazy, you know. And another thing is that I don't want to get into all that stuff because I never really did. But it's crazy. It's batshit
Oh
crazy
yeah,
because
absolutely.
you got these guys that, for different reasons that are more about inadequacy, supporting this guy. And
Hmm.
you have another group of people who just have power right now. And they're so afraid to let go of the power, or that they'll lose the power fair and square, that they've decided to run this guy who's obviously mentally not up to it. He's not up to, like, you know, the fight. He may be able
Right.
to still do the job, but he's not up to the fight. I saw like a cartoon, and they had one guy, and they were saying, what type of underwear do you wear? And Biden says depends, you know. But the
Right.
truth of the matter is that they're both shitting their diapers.
Right. Right.
Now I didn't
Well,
go ahead.
in this, it isn't this just proof positive that politics in America is a farce? Because there's no way that you can make me believe that two 80-plus-year-old men are the best candidates to run the country.
Nah.
Right. So just like we're looking at it, this is just another episode of The Apprentice or The Bachelor or the whatever the show is. You know what I mean? American Idol. That's all this is. This is a television show. This is something that's manufactured for the factor.
Mm. I could get behind that, except for it seems like one side is really playing for keeps, and the other side is just playing for what they're being cute. It's
Yeah.
it's just like whatever. But when I look at it and I think about it, like I don't get worried. I don't worry about what's going to happen one way or the other because I feel like whoever wins is exactly who this country deserves. And
Right.
I saw this guy who was talking. It's that same Arab guy, and I don't even think he's Arab. I think he's from the Midwest or something. Here comes Andrew popping in. Andrew, what's going on, brother?
Andrew, what's happening, brother?
So
Maybe he can't hear yet.
he probably can't hear yet. So let
But
me
yeah, the Arab guy that I know who you're talking about.
right. And he was saying like after I watched the debate, I wasn't worried about the United States ever coming back into being anything important on
Right.
the world stage because neither one of these guys are qualified to actually keep. And they're right. And the truth of the matter is that like we're controlled by another country anyway. I won't say who because we'll have other problems. So um you can't really
So
win.
yeah, we're controlled by our desires in this country. You know what I mean? Like everything has to be there is no delayed gratification. Everything has to be right now. If I want it, I got to be able to get it right now. I want to be able to watch whatever show I want to watch. I want to be able to go wherever I want to go. You know what I mean? Like everything has to be right now. So that just kind of feeding your desires all the time just leads to a depravity in this country, and that depravity is leading us to nowhere. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking Armageddon around here. You know, everybody's chasing the bag, everybody's chasing the broad, everybody's chasing the dude. You know, it's just all
And it's
what do I
Armageddon.
want?
And like you said, it's Armageddon out here.
Yeah,
And they still chasing bags. They still trying to figure it out.
yeah. And honestly, man, I think one of the biggest things I go back to it all the time. I think the effects of the pandemic have yet to be revealed to us. You lock people in their homes alone with nothing but their devices, and their devices are doing nothing but feeding what they believe because that's what the algorithm is designed to do. If you like big booties in cars, your algorithm is going to feed you big booties in cars all day, right? So eventually, so over this 3-4 year period, that's all you do is get reinforcement of your ideas.
Mhm.
And that's where we are, man. Like people just can't, that's why now you can't disagree with anybody. You know, you have to buy into whatever everybody does because people can't take, they don't even understand. How do you not agree with me? Because everything that's on my phone says exactly what I think. So why don't you understand this too?
You see, along the lines of what you're saying right there, um, is along the lines of like what I was saying about I was thinking about this show and being honest. And I was thinking about people and this generation in particular that really has the mic. and has the soapbox.
Mm.
Thinking, like, what a fucking miserable, shitty fucking generation. Like they're fighting culture wars. They're fighting identity problems. They're fighting against everything that doesn't have any type of substance whatsoever. Anything that doesn't really matter, they're not paying attention to. The shit is on the shit is on your on this on your
Right.
device.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and reality, and then they complain about how bad reality is and everything, but they're actually the arbiters of reality at this point.
Right.
They don't believe in reality.
What up, Andrew?
What's up, y'all? I'm sorry.
Ain't
I just came on with the first thing I heard was algorithm and big butts.
Yeah, bro. Bro, let me tell you something. Andrew Johnson, first of all, you are forgiven for any type of preparation for this show or anything like that. I just sent out I just sent out the invite, like, yo, here I'm going.
The mass invite, yeah.
Yeah, just a mass invite, just who wants to get down. Nobody knows where my brain is right now as far as from this recovery and everything. So I wanted to dip my toe back in the water and get back into the mix. So I basically just sent it out and was just like, here we go.
Well, I feel you on that, brother. It's good to see you back. You look like you look back to normal to me. So
yeah, except for the hair. I actually I had a haircut when I went into the hospital. And when you're in the hospital, you can't get a barber. So it just kind of filled up on me, and now it's kind of grown on me. So I think I'm gonna end up going to the barber tomorrow or the day after, sometime, and I might just actually keep the look. You hear that? I'm gonna keep the look.
Definitely. So what we talking about?
Oh, we're just talking about people in general. We're just talking about life. Right now, we're just talking about how people really are a bit. They're not really. We complain about everything. We're complaining about everything that's wrong in the world, but they're the ones that are controlling it. We're talking about how bad the. I mean, look. I don't even know if it's. I don't even want to say bad. Like when I'm talking about this election and what could possibly happen, I don't even want to say bad because I think whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. If Trump is supposed to be dictator and Führer of America, he's going to become the Führer of America. And if black people help to do that, then they're going to deserve to be ruled by a Führer.
Well, I'll say this. I think there's a silent constituency of voters out here who are going to surprise us on election day. I don't think Trump is getting 30% of the black vote. I don't think he's going to even get 20 or 10. He might get 10, 15 at the most. Just because you see some black dudes on the internet shucking and jiving and cooning and saying that you need to be voting for Trump, this, that, and the other. And they, the one dude who looked like buckwheat from Fat Albert and the other dude from Florida. I forgot the dude from Florida's name who said Jim Crow was good for black people or something.
Right.
Those dudes they're paid operatives to go out here and try to convince black males to vote for Donald Trump.
He actually said that before my blood pressure shot through the roof. So I think that's something to do with it.
Yeah, everyone was kind of blown away back. He's trying not to walk it back, but he is kind of walking it back because he realizes the backlash. But what I think he's making it sound like, it was sort of he was just saying it to make an example. But I think he had every intention on saying that just to get attention.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what I'm thinking with all of that And you know, there's some of these guys, some of these dudes on the internet who are, you know, social media presence. I'll leave them nameless, but they're doing the same thing. They're trying to convince black people it's in their best interest to vote Republican. And the reason why they're doing this is because Republicans are running out of voters because their base is older and they're dying off. So they have to get voters from somewhere. So that the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit is Black and Latino men. And how do I get them? How do I get them to support something that's not in their best interest? I use sex. So I tell them, look, you Black and Hispanic incels, these women ain't sleeping with you. You see, here's the problem. This is what happens when you give women too much power. They start talking like that. To trying to convince them that it's in their best interest. If you vote with us, we'll strip away their power, and then you can have sex again.
So you're saying,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's subtle, but now I'm gonna tell you something. No, there's one guy who comes on, and it's a black dude. He's saying that women shouldn't even be allowed to vote.
Right.
This is where they're going. See, they don't tell you this. They're telegraphing it. But most people aren't paying attention to where they're going. They're literally trying to, one of the biggest things they will do if they get back into power, one of the first things they're going to do is try to eliminate women voters because they cannot win when women vote. And so that's why this attack. You notice just about all of these social media shows are attacking feminism. They're all attacking feminism. And they're saying all these derogatory things about it, this, that, and the other, and they're doing it because they think the movement has went too far and is no longer in their best interest. I look at it like this. If there's a girl out here who don't want to get with me or don't want to be or sleep with me or whatever the case may be, and she likes the other dude down the street, have at it. I mean, I'm going to get somebody. So why am I, I'm not going to sit up there and worry about that. It doesn't bother me one bit. But all of these guys who come on these shows, who are running some of these social media platforms, they're all, and I'm willing to bet that they're getting money. They're getting money from somewhere. I'm not saying what type of payola. I just think that because these guys just showed up out of nowhere.
They give them commercials. They give them platforms.
Yeah.
You know, if you're getting views, somebody's paying for those views. If I wanted to make this show a bigger show, all I really do is just pay for more advertising.
Yeah.
And then the show is bigger. So if you've got a corporation which is paying for the advertising, or somebody that's like, throwing that commercial in there with those great terms, then they're buying whatever it is. The media can be bought now.
Well, you know what, John? Let me just say this real quick. Before, back in the day, say 20 years ago, in order to get a book on a bestseller list, it'll get picked up by some type of a think tank group or whatever. And what the think tank group used to do is they would buy about 30 or 40,000 copies of the book, buy a whole bunch of them. Some of them they would hand out to their groups when they had conferences and things like that. But the rest of them, they would literally set on fire and burn them. And the reason why they would do that is because they want that person to get on the bestsellers list. Because once they get on the bestsellers list, they can do the media circuit. Mm-hmm. Well, now that we have social media, they don't have to do it that way. They just got to do a lot of bots and stuff like that to get their listeners up so it can get in the algorithm to where more people can see it. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's the new plan that they do go with right now.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter about talent. Doesn't matter about message. 20 years ago, I was a super friend doing Black Planet, which was where we could all talk to each other. You could do dating on Black Planet. You could do politics on Black Planet. You could have conversations with just Black people on Black Planet. And it was us. It allowed you to blow up, and the algorithm didn't matter. Now, all the algorithms are controlled by Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. That's why Twitter, no matter what, Elon Musk, he didn't care how much money he paid for it. because he got the message delivery system. The message delivery system is what it's about. It's not about it's not about necessarily the message of the individual. It's the delivery system. The message comes from the person that owns it. If you own it, you can purchase the message, which is why people have such a hard time with media as it so exists right now, with only giving one side of certain issues. And that's what the world is. That's what Gaza is, for example. You get one side. If you want to hear another side of that, you have to go to TikTok. And even on TikTok, they've kind of like strained that out a little bit more and everything. That's just basically what it is. But go ahead, Grant. You have something you
No,
want, because
I was just thinking in the media, to me, it seems like mostly what you get is opinion. I don't think the media is necessarily about facts anymore. It's about getting the story out first and having and like clickbait. So having the best opinion on it.
yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily about the facts anymore.
Well, you don't get to like make a decision as to right or wrong. You're actually you're trying to join a group. You either join in the left group or the right group, or the center group or the independent group that
Right.
is like committed to not getting in the way of saying anything that's going to upset the left group or the right group. You see, the independent group, it used to be the outliers. And sort of like what Andrew was saying a second ago, you brought up something that was my whole theory of college in 1987, which was pussy rules the world. The women rule the world. If you want to be happy, if you want the men to be happy, back then we could actually, when we were in school, you could actually spend time with a woman without having to have $500 a week coming in, which would have been about the amount of money that would have been a good salary back then, right? 500 a week in college, right? So we would have had 500 a week back then, and then we would have, but we didn't have to do that. So the world was a nicer place, and women exerted their power differently. Now you can't get none. So the men are mad. They want to make the women give it up. That's what the incel movement is. That's why they're trying to recruit the black incels, like Andrew said. And the women are just like, they're just not there. They're not interested in it. Because look at all the things that they're losing. If you're a liberal woman, you've lost the ability to decide whether or not you want to reproduce or not. You can't make a bad decision on a Friday night, because, like, on a Saturday morning in most states, you can't even go and get a morning after pill.
Right. But is it that they like women are out, or is it that women are making a different choice, and a choice that they've been guided to make? Because the choice now is not, I don't want a working class guy. I want that 1% guy. I want the guy that's making $100,000 or $300,000 or whatever, is 6'3", washboard abs. I want that guy. So
Well,
is it? I'm just saying, are they making a guided choice?
Well, I find that interesting, because I think that they are making a somewhat of a guided choice, but just like the framers of the Constitution and the makers of this country, they've gone wrong. Somewhere along the line, the people that actually have the power have gone wrong. And let me tell you why that is, because, I always have a theory that the rich guy wants all the women. They,
Mm-hmm.
they want unfettered access to the creme de la creme, no matter where they come from. And any dictator and despot has the same type of thing. There's rumors like that with Gaddafi when he was running his country. There's rumors about that with the Shah of Iran and that regime beforehand. Men always want the pick of the litter. Rich men always want the pick of the litter. And that's what
But John, let me say this real quick with that. The problem is that, and Grant had mentioned this a while back when we was on a different episode. If you got 80% of the women chasing after, say, 10 or 15% of the men, what the problem that the women are running into is that the men that they're all chasing after, because they have so much choice, it leads to demonic behavior. So you start to see it play out on television with some of our recording artists, with NBA, NFL type players. You start to see this happen, and while they're have the best chances to get married or get with a dude that's gonna, may not have all those kind of resources, but got something. By the time they make up their mind, it's kind of too late, and so
Well,
they're stuck.
well, it's interesting because you jumped right over where I was going to and got right to the no, seriously, you got right to the consequence. I was still going into the
Okay.
cause as to what it is, because like the rich guys, they have kind of terraformed this thing and made it such that they are the alpha man. And it started with the tech nerds, really. If you really want to give them credit, congratulations, tech nerds. You successfully fucked it all up. So now these women, they only know this one thing, and they were only chasing after these guys, this 20% of guys. And what you're saying is that because when you're in that 20%, you're saying that the disease of douchery starts to come about with those men, is what you're saying, Andrew, in effect, correct?
Yeah, well, it's like if you got 10 or 12, 10 or 20 women chasing after you, calling you, doing all these different things, of course you're gonna you're gonna be like, okay, I want you this time tonight. This one here, I do you. It creates that. That's why you see a lot of these, whether it be like a recording artist, like I said, whatever, they have all these children,
Mm-hmm.
and they, with different women and different things like that, and they can't be in the house, in every single house. They're running around just making more babies, and the women, one of the things is what messes women up is like sometimes they'll get this thing in their head. Well, once he gets with me, he's gonna change all that behavior. The magic box theory, basically.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. And so what's hurting women is by the time they're figuring this out, they're getting to a point where the men who they could have got with have moved on and are starting to have some choice themselves as they get over the age of 30. And so now their choice is what the women used to have before, and they can't figure out. That's why you see a lot of these videos where women on TikTok are making these videos crying, saying that they can't find nobody.
Well,
some people, because they went past that opportunity when they had the best chance.
Well,
they're finding it a lot harder now.
Well, let's be honest. Like, let's give them a break for a second. Is it really their fault?
No, it's not.
It's not really their fault, because, like, their moms were the ones that were telling them a lot of times. You still see it. You still see it. I saw a video of a woman who was telling who had told her son's girlfriend, "Why are you listening to my son? He doesn't bring any money to the table. He doesn't make as much money as you. Why are you listening to him whatsoever? Just completely up in the business, all up in the business, just mixing it up for him, messing it up."
So that's true. And the thing is, I've scripted a show already called Transactional Dating, and that's where we're at right now. The dating is no longer, we don't just date just because we think someone's cute or pretty, or it's a transaction now.
Right.
Well, it's so this is where we're at.
Well, the problem with that is that we have all these people doing shows and having conversations about this and all this other stuff and everything. But let's be honest, niggas is mad that they're not getting any booty.
Yeah.
That's what's causing them a lot of problems. And let's be honest, a lot of these ladies is frustrated as fuck because they're not getting the attention that they need either. So we have these systems that were set up that reward the alpha type of male, the quote unquote alpha male, and the definition of alpha has definitely changed because an alpha male
Definitely.
back in the 40s and 50s could be a man that goes to work every day and has muscles upon him, muscles, who's your pops, who you're not talking back to that dude because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, he's like, putting a fence in the backyard and digging a ditch. He's putting the fence in with the left hand and he's digging a hole with the right one. You're not playing with that man. Now the alpha man is completely and totally different. And the alpha is kind of like a beta. You really want
Yes,
to look at
it's more about, John, what it is right now. We're in the creative type. Women are attracted to right now creative intelligence because you can go from 0 to 100 overnight, per se, meaning that you could come out with something, you can go viral, you could do something where you become essentially rich overnight. And all of these women they're finish line women. You blow when you ain't blowed up, they don't want to talk to you. But then when you blow up and you get the money, now here they come. And what's happening is they're spending so much energy there. They're putting all their time and effort into there, holding out the hope that the possibility that they're going to get that guy, that one guy, that the the Russell Wilson type who might, marry a woman who had a child already, and that's going to be their story. And and they get it. Like I said, the movies, some of the Tyler Perry movies, they do that where they have the woman with the 3 kids, she marries the NBA ball player. This is all where they're getting it from. Like they're holding out hope that that's going to be their story. And it's like it's less than a 1% chance it's going to happen, but that's the issue.
But it's
And
not,
when you're going in that direction, you miss out on your potential spouse, husband, or whoever. You
but
miss out on them because you're not even looking at them.
even more importantly, though, it's not sustainable for the species. You can't
Right.
go that long. Motherfucker go 2 years without getting no booty. Yo, Grant, 2 years? You know what
Look,
I mean? Now look, but we're a different generation, right?
right.
We're a different generation. We have different standards. We expect different things. So I'm not trying to feel no 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Forget about 2 months or 2 years. It's like
Right.
y'all starving these people's creativity. A motherfucker can't. This is why, this is why they have drives where they're trying to get people to reproduce. This is why they have these laws where they don't want you to have an abortion because nobody was fucking.
Right. But isn't there some level of just not being, if you're the woman, like, I don't know about in the Bible, I think the man is supposed to be the hunter. Like a man finds a wife, not the opposite. Right. So if a man finds the wife, then all of this chasing that women are doing, and by no means am I trying to get religious, but if women are doing all this chasing, it can't be prosperous.
Well, it's not prosperous because what they chasing is the bag.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're not.
That's what I'm saying.
And they're chasing an idea, a concept. They're chasing, the ability. What is it? Purchasability, the ability to actually buy more things, more
Right.
useless things.
But so even in fairy tales, though, like the prince didn't choose the rich woman. The prince chose the girl who worked, who had character. Right? He didn't choose just the spoiled princess. So even if Disney is your example, right? Let's, like, Cinderella had the evil stepsisters, right?
Mhm.
So her evil stepsisters weren't the one that the prince chose. The prince chose Cinderella. Cinderella was different because Cinderella worked. She had character, work ethic, all that kind of jazz.
Mhm.
And then when he came looking at the crib, right, for whoever had the glass slipper, he didn't. I mean, well, it didn't fit them, but he didn't even like what he saw.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even in Cinderella Dana Dane, no, you're not the one that I'm looking for, Chief.
Right. Right.
Right?
But those messages are from a different era, and they're from lessons that weren't learned. Let me just break this up for a second because this has been a good conversation about relationships and things. But like, let me give you an example of like at a time when I was in the hospital, and my daughter had came up, and she was sitting there with me, and we were just talking, and there were many things that we were having conversations with because, of course, she's thinking that my pops, he barely made it. Maybe he won't be around to make it again. So let me ask this motherfucker some questions about some things that I'm curious about. And she seriously asked me, she was like, "Yeah, listen, I've heard about the crack epidemic in the
Mm.
80s and everything. What was it really like in the crack epidemic during the 80s? What was it really like?" And I started describing things to her, and how it actually was. And she was like, "Nah." And I was like, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the character of what used to be culture. Because, like, the crack epidemic and everything, I don't know, like, people don't get into it and people don't like to talk about it. And there's been so many years and so many people have passed that were touched by that era and by that time. But damn near everybody's family were affected at some point in some way by the crack epidemic, whether it
True.
was you or it was somebody's cousin, somebody's aunt, somebody's niece, somebody's neighbor. Somewhere along the line, they were affected by that, and it changed the whole community. Andrew, how old were you when crack was around? Were you even like, you're in your
No,
40s?
I wish I was in my 40s.
Okay.
But no, it was. I say, I lived in New York, in prison. The inmates would say, who were from New York, they say I was there BC, and we were saying what's BC, and they would just say before crack. Meaning they grew up in the
Right.
70s, early 80s. When crack hit, I was, I want to say maybe just getting into high school, you know, around that period of time. And I do remember because the drug was a lot more potent back then because it wasn't chopped up. And so the horror stories that you're relating to, John, is, people were doing some crazy stuff on that drug. It was like they would escape from a mental institution when they was
Mhm.
getting high back then. And it
Mm-hmm.
was New York was a very dangerous place, and I'm sure Detroit was too. I mean, but it was initially dropped in New York and LA, and then kind of just spread out. But in New York, I remember when it did first hit, and we were hearing some of these stories, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was like the stuff that was happening with people on crack was so scary. I didn't even want to go nowhere near it.
Right.
I mean, I literally,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that
Absolutely.
I don't want to be high like that, you know. So it was because and you've seen so many people uh, go down, whether they got some, the mandatory minimum prison sentences, they got took out, OD'd, whatever the case may be. I mean, it just you've seen. I literally seen women who on a scale of 1 to 10 were like nines, got on crack, and you didn't even want to look at them. I
Became
mean,
twos.
yes, they became twos, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah.
Grant,
And
do you go ahead.
just consider this. Just kind of pulling it up to 2024. Let's say crack hit in 84, just to use the four for an even number. Crack babies started being born in what? 88,
86,
80,
87.
okay, 87, 87. So those crack babies that survived, some of those crack babies have made it with other crack babies.
Mhm.
And those people are now probably 17, 25, somewhere in that range. So when you look at this generation and you start talking about how different they are, why do they act the way that they act? You know, maybe some of that is just the results of that crack epidemic.
Mm.
It's
You know,
more of a cognitive decline issue. Just me being a retired substance abuse counselor. The crack baby thing was more geared to try and scare people a little bit, because generally speaking, crack babies don't, when you saw them on TV shaking and doing all that stuff, that's not, cocaine is not a withdrawal drug.
Right.
So that was more, I won't say staged, but it was over exaggerated.
Mhm.
But the cognitive issue, Grant, is what matters, because there was definitely some cognitive decline, or some issues with that. And you're right. If I have a person whose mother used when they were was in the womb, and then they get with a woman, same story, it creates something different. Maybe someone with less emotion, maybe someone with more
Right.
sociopathic ideologies. I mean, it creates someone that we aren't used to seeing or dealing with. We don't know. I mean, we literally don't know. But and there's no way you can. It's very difficult to do any type of longitudinal study on this stuff, because how are you going to collect the data?
Right.
It's
and exactly what you guys are saying is, like, you guys have just described the problems of actually explaining that era to my daughter at that time. But it's not just that; it's also all of the things that people happen that affected their families. I mean, you could have brothers, one brother, taking the tires off of the car of another brother
Right.
before he has to go to work. Just
yes,
hit.
yes.
You know, you have families that were broken apart by the activities. You also had these crazy places. And like, this is what I was describing to her, because there was a place in Amityville, out here on Long Island. And now you drive by there, it's like a regular drugstore or something. They just like, but it was just like, there was just like fiends. And they'd be out there, they'd 150 deep, walking back and forth at all hours of the night, all hours of the evening. Who is up in there making that money? The most hardened of dudes.
Right.
But also we have the stories of what happens. We have the BMF. We have the powers, that go back and they tell those stories and everything. But what about the stories about those families what about the guy who didn't get to work because his brother stole his tires? How fucking demoralizing is that, to see your family and your loved ones, to see your sister, to know that your sister's around the corner, who was a beautiful woman, who was a 9 just a week ago and everything. And now she's around the corner with your arch enemies and their brothers running trains for like, $3 and $4. This is what the crack thing, this is what crack did. It actually was the beginning of the breaking down of the family. And you saw things differently. And we don't.
Well, John, you know what happened? This is what happened during that era, that late 80s. The female prison population went from practically nothing to something, to where they were the fastest growing demographic in the prison system in the 90s. So not only now, before in African American culture, our concern was taking the dad out the home. Now the dad and the mom was gone, and grandma or auntie or somebody else was raising the child. And when I tell you, when working in the system in the 90s, when I first started, there was the amount of women coming in, the women that were in there, most of them were it all was drug related type crimes, either using or selling or having a boyfriend or something along those lines. They were all drug related crimes, and this was all during that era. And a lot of women got completely taken out of home, and majority of them already had children. So it created this new generation. And this is, and I'm not saying, I think that the new generation, what they call the Gen Zers, are actually going to save this country. But it's what we're dealing with is we're seeing some of them and we're going, oh my goodness, these guys don't know anything. They don't know nothing. But they're going to, because if you go back in history throughout the United States, since its inception, every fourth generation has came along and changed something, and it was a dramatic change. If you go to the Revolutionary War, then it was the Civil War, that was the fourth generation. Then it was World War II, that was the fourth generation. And now here we are 80 plus years later. This is Gen Z now. Okay. So even though it doesn't look like it, I wouldn't be surprised, is what I'm saying.
Well, I hope they get cracking, and I hope they beat the robot overlords.
Right.
At this point,
hell yeah.
Like, the odds are not looking very good right now. I'm just here for like back support. I'm sort of like, the fullback on the football team. I'm almost damn near obsolete, but we're still here. So listen, fellas. 51 minutes. We're almost out of here. Is there anything else that you gentlemen would like to say before we go? I'd like to thank you both for showing up. Once again, my return from the other world, from the other region. And I just want to have more fun with this show and with everything in general, period. So I think that you're going to see a more open and maybe available. That's kind of scary. Grant, that's scary, right? Available X.
Hey, we all gonna deal with it. We'll take it as it comes.
All right. Well, y'all gonna have to take it as it comes.
Pause.
I am. Pause. I'm like, listen, I'm chilling right now. I'm here, and like I feel like I'm on borrowed time. According to what they're telling me, I was on borrowed time. So it's like anything from this point on is a bonus. So, woo, that sounds like trouble. Anyway.
Hey, live every day like it's gonna be your last, and then just get it all in.
Flying out here, Mr. Andrew Johnson. Thank you for showing up.
Absolutely, man. I wish I could have got on earlier, but I made it.
Hey, have a happy 4th of July. Listen, we're gonna keep having this. I don't know if I'm gonna do it every week now. I might do every other week. I may just do some guerrilla stuff. I'm not really feeling like a schedule right now, to tell you the truth. Like after coming back from this thing, that's the one thing I'm not feeling. I'm feeling more like bonsai. That's what I'm more like bonsai. Like I drop when I want to drop. I don't necessarily want to keep on a schedule. I don't necessarily want to stick with whatever other people are thinking about, whatever they're saying, whatever. Don't really care. I just think that we should all be doing the right thing. If there's one thing I came back with, I just think that this world is we're a bunch of people that really knows what the right thing to do is, but we really refuse to do it. Grant, you had an example during the show that I wish I had written down. That was an example of us doing the wrong thing and knowing that we should be doing the right thing. And I'm just not here for the excuses. I'm here to watch it. I'm here to watch it. I think that's why I've always seen everything up close, all these crazy things and these crazy events. And I'm thinking that maybe my job is just to like actually experience it and see all these people up close. These famous motherfuckers that are world shakers and everything. Y'all know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still seeing I still see what it is. And just living, B. Just living.
Look, just remember, there's no sex in the champagne room.
No sex.
Just remember that. Yeah. If you keep that in mind, and everything will be all right.
Listen, I just got to get in better shape here. They got me temporarily on this insulin. I didn't realize that people were taking insulin in order to lose weight in this country. But apparently that's where a lot of the insulin shortages comes from, people who are trying to lose weight. And I can't figure it out because I've done nothing but gain weight. So that shit won't work for me. And the second thing about that is that as far as that's concerned, is that I can't wait till I can just start exercising full time, getting it going. So anyway,
You'll be there in a minute, bro.
I'll be
That's
there.
it.
I'll be there. Born in Trouble. Andrew Johnson, host of what is the show again?
The 313.
313.
The
313 Men, Money, and Marriage.
and Money
On
and
all major platforms.
on all major platforms. And Grant, the host of All Things Great in Detroit. It seems that, like, you were
Listen.
you were at the NFL draft where you
Yep.
were at the
Yes.
Republican National Convention.
No, I was at the Grand Prix. I was at the Grand Prix. I was at the Pride Festival. I was everywhere.
Okay.
It's going down in the summer in Detroit.
There you go. And as far as the Pride Festival, big shout out to my nurse, who I shouted out last week. The guy kept me alive. I don't understand why you people were mad at gay people. They're just normal people, just like everybody else. I understand if they're distracting from other things that need to be done, but you can always just ignore them in their fleur-de-lis and just keep doing whatever you're doing and everything if that's what you want to do. There's no reason for you to be distracted unless you want to be distracted. But big shout out to the LGBTQ community. We didn't have Carlos on this year, but big shout out to you guys anyway. And Born in Trouble, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Possibly. Peace.
Peace.
That's right. Peace.